Hi, I'm Simon Ware, Director of Marketing for Dana Innovations, parent company of LaunchPort, and this is LaunchPort. In a few moments we're going to talk to you about mounting the LaunchPort wall station to your wall, but before we do, let's think about the best place to mount it in your home. Here we found somewhere which is in a central location, halfway between the living space and the kitchen, and that's given us an ideal location to be able to do things like access the internet, use our favourite apps like Facebook, weather, traffic, or just be a good central location to be able to charge your iPad. So let's hit rewind, come back to this in a moment and look at how to mount the wall station to the wall. The first part to install the wall station is grab the quick start chart from the box and simply tape it on the wall above where you want to place it. This is going to give you a very easy step-by-step instruction on how to install it properly. The first thing I'd suggest you do is make sure that you turn the power off so that you know that if there's wires in behind there you're not going to cut through them, and just use a little bit of common sense. If there was a kitchen on the other side of this, we might have to check to make sure there's no gas, no plumbing, those sort of things as well. This really is a job that's not that difficult if you're a skilled handyman, but if you're not sure, perhaps call upon the services of a qualified tradesperson to help you with this. So the first thing we need to do is work out exactly where we want to put the wall station onto the wall. Obviously we need to be a little bit careful to make sure that there is no studs behind here, so we're going to use a stud finder which we've bought for $10 from the local hardware store. So we can run this across the wall, and when it starts beeping, we know that at this location there's a stud. Come across the other way, there. So we know we can't put the wall station here because if we cut through the drywall we're going to hit the stud. So let's come back across here and know that that is the point at which we can go as far as we can on the left hand side. Now we need to set the height. Now typically any sort of touchscreen should be mounted 62 inches from the ground to the centre of the screen. That works out to be the best average height for most people to use. Obviously, if you want to set it up for children, or you need to set it up for shorter people in the family, you can come lower or higher if you have taller people, but this is generally a good rule of thumb. So I have a mark here which is 62 inches, and that means that the wall station cutout needs to go here. Now the wall station is supplied with a template. We have one here, and in effect we're going to bring this up, ensure that the centre line is through here, and that the most further edge point is away from that stud. Before we do that, we need to make sure that we get it level. So we've got a level here. We're going to line this until we get the bubble perfectly centered, which we've done. And we're going to draw that outline. Now that gives us the cutout which is actually straight for the LaunchPort wall station. So now we take a drywall saw, find the location on the edge of this hole, and start cutting through. So there we have it, the hole cut out for the wall station to go through, and now we're going to grab the wall station and just make sure that it can fit there and it can clear. Goes in there perfectly, which it does, and we can start marking it up to drill the holes to physically screw that in there. Once again, because we've allowed a little bit of movement in the hole, we need to make sure that we get this nice and square, which we've got right. Let's have a look. Right about there. So if we now mark the holes in the centre, we can go ahead and put the mounts in there to be able to screw this to the wall. So what we're going to do now is to cut a hole down here to take the power outlet for the power supply, which will come to the AC adapter that's going to be here. Now here in the US we don't need to be concerned about any isolation distances between the two devices because the power being high voltages in a wall box. But if you're not in the US, you may want to check codes for your local country just to make sure that you know exactly where to do this and if there has to be a particular distance. The template that we've provided has centre lines in all directions. Now if that was going over here, it would be very easy just to get the centre line and mark this over here, but I want to bring it a bit closer. One of my pet hates is devices that are next to each other and actually don't line up or aren't straight. So I'm just going to leave that template across the top and get it straight. I'm going to put the power outlet where I want it, and then I'm going to put a couple of marks, just make sure I'm square, a couple of marks through the screw holes that I can find in a moment. Now that I've got those, I can bring my template through and just line up these two holes. There's one there. And we're just going to go like this. So now we're ready to cut out this hole as well. The device comes with 6 feet of cord to go from the top of the actual wall station down to the power outlet. If you need more than 6 feet, you can check the cable gauge guide that we've got on the website. But in this situation, that's going to give us more than enough cable. Also, if you have the opportunity, if there happens to be a room on the other side, be it a closet or a walk-in robe or something like that, that's a great opportunity to maybe wire it on the other side of the room so that you don't see the outlet. So once again, we get our drywall saw and very simply, there's a hole. Let's go ahead and check this. There we go, look at that, perfect. And that still gives us enough movement. We've allowed enough with the template so that we can actually move that around and make sure that we get it straight. So we were a little bit lucky in this installation. We were able to put the hole here and the hole at the bottom for the outlet, and there are no studs that are affecting us through the wall. You may not be that lucky. You may have a stud lower down, which the stud finder is going to find if you run it down this way, or what's called a fire break. If that's the case, there's a couple of ways around it. You can either see an electrician who is used to coming across these sort of hurdles and get them to do it for you, or you can go to the hardware store and in fact buy a long extension with a spade bit on the end. It's designed to be able to be fed down through the wall and extended to the point of hitting that stud or fire break and drilled through. Just be careful doing it, obviously. Once again, be very careful that there are no wires down there that you're likely to be through. If there was a light switch here and a stud across here, it's very likely that a wire may be, in fact, nailed down to that. So that's the way to get through a fire break. There'll be more information on that on the website. So if you get to that point and you hit that, 2 choices. Ring an electrician and ask them to come along and help you, or go to our website and find the tips on how to overcome a fire break. So because we don't have that problem, we can now literally drop this wire down through and just leave that there so that we can come back in a moment and put the rest of that in there. So there we go. Now there's a couple of ways that you can hold this device on the back, but the way we're going to do it here is a drywall anchor. Be careful with these. A lot of people get tempted to try and put them on the end of a power drill or a powered screwdriver. They're not designed to have high levels of torque or high speed. They get hot and they crack off. But as you can see in this situation, they're going in very, very easily. I'm just screwing them in now. So there we go. The holes, ready for the screws, cables ready to be connected and ready down to the bottom. So we've now got our wire coming from the top, from the wall station down to the bottom for the power outlet. We use some pretty high-tech tools of the trade, which I'm sure you'll have lying around. A flashlight so we could see in there and see what we're doing. A wide coat hanger with a hook on the end so we can grab the wires. And I simply put some washers on the end of this end of the wire so that it would drop straight, so that it would fall in a straight line and be easier to grab. So now we've got the wire running from the top to the bottom. We can go ahead and follow the next step on the quick start chart. That's to fit off the wall station and then come through and fit off the bottom with the power outlet. It really doesn't matter which way you wire these, providing that you have the same coloured wire going to the same side of the little plug on the top and the bottom. In this case, I'm going to put the red wire that we have here on the left-hand side with the lug at the bottom. If you look closely, there's a little lug in here, if we zoom in, at the bottom. So as long as I remember when I get to do the bottom end of it that the wire on the left-hand side is red and the wire on the right is black with the lugs at the bottom. So let's go ahead and wire these. I'm using a good quality jeweler's screwdriver here. You'll need a small screwdriver for these plugs, but it needs to be a good one. I wouldn't try doing this with a cheap screwdriver set. And we're going to put the red wire on the left-hand terminal with the lug pointing towards the bottom, nice and tight, and then the black wire on the right-hand side. Okay, now we have our plugs in place. I'm going to go ahead and plug the wall station into the plug, fit it into the hole, making sure that I've got LaunchPort the right way up. And let's get started by putting a couple of screws in here and just getting them tight enough so that we can align it and get it. Now these are done up. Let's go ahead and grab the cover. Wall station, which just clips on like that, and now we can go ahead to step 13 and fit off the power supply down the bottom. So now we can go ahead and plug in the wall plate for the power supply with the wire that we drop down from the top. Fit the screws. Simply get the power supply, plug it in there, and there we have it. We've fitted the wall station. All that's left is to take our iPad, put it into the power shuttle on the wall, and straight away it starts charging. That's it, easy.